We are back from the sewing machine and we attached the skirt. I'm cleaning up strings. I removed only the gathering string that was inside the seam, or on the outside of the seam allowance. The one inside the seam allowance is helpful when you're doing your zigzag, so just leave that guy in there. But now, let's kind of just get rid of the rough looking stuff without cutting our zigzag. Don't cut that. Okay. Does kind of make a mess on your ironing board, but that cleans up pretty easy. Another link I should give you ladies is a link to a really handy handheld vacuum cleaner that I keep in my sewing room that I can just grab and clean this kind of mess up really quick. I love that thing. Okay, now once that's done, we're going to turn it right side out and just give it a good look. Let's see if it's looking nice. Yeah, look at that. Nicely distributed. No big puff over here or there. It's all nice and even. Looks wonderful. We can, at this point, I always like to have the seam allowance going up on the inside. That's the way it's going to want to naturally lay, so just go with it. Don't fight with fabric. You don't usually win. All right. Then I'm going to take the iron, and she's probably kind of gone to sleep, so right now she's not going to steam. Steam would be really helpful right now. I'd get a little bit into that gathered area with the iron. Come on, wake up, Missy. Oh, she doesn't have much water left either, so that also impacts her ability to give me steam. But if you just kind of get the pressing in that first inch or so, that's helpful. All right, then you're going to go to the hem. And what I do is turn over a 1/4 inch and stitch that down. Really don't have to iron it now, but you're going to take some kind of a guide. I really love this thing. Use your 50 off coupon at the Joann store, and they don't cost you much, because I want you to turn it up to be 1.5 inches hem. And you see how I'm able to go up to the 1.5, fold it, and I know I'm at 1.5. I might even, I don't know, on the other side. Yeah, ooh, the other side's even better because that's going to go all the way across. So now look, I go like this, then I'm going to push and make sure that I don't have extra over there. Press that part, give it a good press, and then we'll just work our way around. It doesn't hurt at this point to just go ahead and put a couple pins, one where you started that pressing and where you ended it, because now I can go down the way. I don't have to be right there. I can be all the way over here. So it won't take me as long to get all the way around. So you got to keep sliding. I could do this, think I'm at 1.5 inches, but if I push this, look, I'm not. So always double check, give it a little push, make sure. You can do the same thing with, like, take a piece of cardboard or something, thin cardstock, and do this, possibly one of those free credit cards you get in the mail. I don't know how much that plastic will stand up to the iron's heat, but I used to use like an old rickrack card. The problem is the steam makes it get kind of gross very quickly. So when I caught on to the fact that they had this, that was a big win. I switched and I love it. I use it all the time. I even use it sometimes just to mark a seam, because you can lay it on there and run your pencil across it. Especially when I'm teaching kids to sew. They do better if they've got a pencil line to follow than to try to follow a seam guide on the face of the machine. So mine gets a lot of use. I feel like I might have some wandering going on here. I do. And actually, I much prefer the needle side of a seam, of any seam, is going to be the pretty stitching. So when it comes to doing the hem, we are very good with, happy with a straight stitched hem. You don't need to do a hidden stitch, or, I mean, if you want to, we're not going to complain, but you don't need to do that. And so if you're going to do a straight stitch like I'm talking about, you're going to use a nice top stitching length, which would be like a 3 to 3.5 makes a really pretty top stitch. And you're going to do it from the right side of the fabric. So that's why doing this procedure is really essential, because I can trust what's happening on the back side of my fabric because I ironed it down using a ruler. If you just try to wing it, you're going to be missing some of it, and then some's going to be too big, and it just isn't going to be as good. So take that extra little bit of time. It's worth it. This gives you more time to pray over the little girl who's going to be receiving the dress. That's something we really ask all of our seamsters, everybody who's working on a project for We Love, on your stage of that project, be praying about the person who is going to receive that gift. Menstrual pads, boxers for the men who live on the street. It doesn't matter what the project is. They all need prayer. So you'll be really good at praying if you volunteer for We Love. All right, so I'm going to just move these guys to the front so I can see what I'm doing. And I am a girl who has to sew inside of a circle, so I'm going to turn the project inside out. But if you are comfortable working with your sewing machine's free arm, I was just too many years into sewing already by the time they invented that idea. So it's okay. You do what you want to do, and I'll do it my way, but we just need the results to all be excellent, right? We're working as if unto the Lord. So over to the sewing machine we go. We're going to change our stitch. I'm going to just go with 3 because I think on this machine 3 is a really nice looking seam. I always start on one of the side seams, and you know, I'm going to grab my gauge because I want to make sure I know where 1.5 inches is. So I'll put the needle down, and then I'll put this on the side of it, and 1.5 inches is just beyond the plate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure what that is. If it's less than 1/4 inch, that'll be really good for me. Oh yeah, it is. So it's going to land well within this area on my project. So that's perfect. So I'm just going to use this landmark. I love when that happens. But if you didn't have a handy landmark, just take one of your Sharpies and mark where that 1.5 inches is. And then you need to stay to the left of that mark. Otherwise, you're going to be riding the rail, and we don't want to do that. All right. So, and I can feel with my fingers that I'm going to be landing in a really good spot. So this is working out good for me. I hope you have a happy landmark like I have. And I did get my magnetic pin catcher, so I'm going to just put that behind so I can pull them out and give them a toss. And before I go too far, I'm going to make sure that I like the results. Oh, it looks beautiful. Beautiful. Now for this, we're probably going to want to do this tension trick that I taught you earlier. A little grip behind the machine and in front of the machine, and then I'm making an agreement between my 2 hands. I'm not pulling it underneath the foot. I'm letting the foot do the moving. Stopping before my pin. beauty of using a top stitch is that if you don't like the results, they're very easy to pull out. But I'm hoping that does not happen to me. That pin was a short one, so I got to zip right on by. And because I'm using that landmark, I meet up just perfectly. And what I prefer you do is just sew a good inch overlapping, because then you can just cut this off right at the fabric. And when you turn it over, you're going to give that just a little pull, and then that tail is going to come to the back side of the project. And then we're going to cut so that there's, you know, like a 1/4 inch tail, and that will keep it from, you know, popping back over to the front side. And that little bit of string, that small tail, isn't going to bother anybody. So let's look at that beautiful stitch. And on this side, look at, I didn't have to worry that I went off the edge at all the way around. I've got a really good connection. And let's just see what it looks like now that that part's done. So look how nice an 1.5 inch hem looks. When you make a smaller hem, it just looks like the dress has already been let out. This does give the mamas a chance to go ahead and just let that down. They can gain pretty much 1.25 inches by letting it down. So, you know, if they're trying to keep that dress on their girl that much longer, they've got room to go. Now, I can't say I'm done, because when I did the straps, all I did was top stitch all the way down, which means the ends are raw. We can't have raw edges. So what you're going to do, if you did like me, you're going to go ahead and just remove a little bit of the stitching, pull those strings to the inside, and I had to, you know, unstitch and pull the stitch so that it was here. Then once they're inside, you're going to fold that down and in. And I might have to use a pin to coerce that tail to get in there. And what we're going to do, we can't, remember I said we can never just start right there. That does not work. I'm going to start here, go to the corner, come to here, then I'm going to back up, and that way, by doing that, I can snip the thread right at the fabric. All right, so come and watch how I do it. My thread has wrapped itself around the shank of my needle, so I have to undo that.